listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know most.
Yo. Paul Apostolakis. Salvatore Cusmano. I don't know if Brad's on yet, but he's getting a washer delivered right now, and apparently that takes precedence over our show. I don't know why you wouldn't like. Oh, there he is. He's here. Yeah. How are you?
Good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, obviously today we have a really awesome guest. He's been on the show before. His name is Zack Jones. He works for one of the largest agents in our area, which is Mark Z. Mark's been on the show as well. But what's awesome about Zack is we've kind of seen him grow. He's crushing it right now. He's done a really good job. He's about his business. But before we get to him, I wanted to thank everybody for following our show. We've had a lot of feedback lately. It's interesting. We found out we have a couple fans that actually like our show, which is weird, but they're in. So if you gonna be like want to see our show and obviously follow it, go to irepodcast.com. You can go to Facebook/IRE podcast to see us live. Sal's got someone in the background walking around. Who's that? Who's in the background? Is that Lindsay? What's up, Lindsay? We do record these live, so you on video if you're listening to the podcast, but you can also listen to us on any podcast app, Spotify, Pandora, all that shit. We're good. So I want to bring Zack on. Zack Jones, Mike Jones. Welcome to the show. Do you remember that? I mean, you're a little young. Do you remember that song, Mike Jones? You gotta hear it all the time.
They used to say it to me in high school, going down the hallway. Zack Jones.
Yeah.
I promise. I'm not.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I mean, it fits, right? One syllable, both sides.
I like
rap
it.
song. You're hood. Zack, welcome to the show, man. Thank you for doing it again. Obviously, you were on here, like a year ago, maybe?
It had to be just about a year ago, right around this time. It was winter last time, actually. So,
yeah, maybe less than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. You made it back. It's a big deal to be here on here twice. It means we actually like you. Which is
I feel
good.
lucky. I appreciate you boys. Thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring Zack on because I mean he's doing numbers. I mean, Zack, I think it was like 27 million or something like that you're at right now
for my career. No, you guys. And I just noticed that on the ad that I just saw it yesterday. You guys used the same number from a year ago when I did it the first time.
Really?
That's from your website.
You left out a whole year of everything.
Oh,
that's from your website, Zack.
There we go. Natalia, screw you. It's from your website, buddy. That's what it says on your website.
Ooh, well, then blame me on that one. That's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Check out Mark Z on that one.
All right, I'll have to talk to him.
So where are you at this year to date for volume?
For volume, I think I'm hovering a little over 11, which is a little bit
11 million.
From where I was last year, but the number of units is still, with about 10 pending, I think I'm around like 46.
That's a lot of units, man. That's a lot of units.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So talk to like what's causing some of that success, man? Like what do you attribute that to be able to like come out of the gates that hot and have that kind of opportunity? Where do you like point to say this is what? Or, I mean, obviously it's you, right? You're kicking ass. You're self motivated, but you've got to have the tools, right?
For sure. But coming out of the gates, though, what do you mean? Like end of the or beginning of the year, right out of Corona?
Right out of Corona. That's what I meant. Yeah. I mean, Corona's been wild, right?
For sure. You're sitting at the house. You can leave. I think what was it, like 60 days? Yeah. Most realtors, they could have been, hanging out, sitting around, and doing nothing. But if we have a database full of leads or phone numbers that have inquired on properties, those people still want to move. So I made sure I'm spending definitely a couple hours of a day follow up, prospecting. People want to move after, and then as soon as the gates opened, full weekends showings. Everyone wanted to get back out. There was times I couldn't even be in like 2 or 3 places at once. To where it comes back to, you mentioned being on Mark Z's team, leveraging myself. I can grab a few other agents, get them involved in my deals, which helps them a lot. A lot of people are new, so I was in the same spot, 5 years ago. That agents did it for me, but getting them involved, getting them showing opportunities, and then they can get involved in transaction, kind of learn as I handle the offers and things like that. But we had people pent up, ready to go. Right now, I still think it's incredibly busy. Inventory's down 7% from September. Looking at numbers in September, I think September 2019, we're down 7% in inventory, but your average price point, I believe, has went up also about 7%, or values have risen 7%. So I think the market's still just incredibly hot right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you know, a buddy of mine sent me like a screenshot. He's like, man, I'm seeing a lot of reprices on house, like price drops, right?
Yeah.
And he noticed that. And I'm like, that's kind of odd. It was a Royal Oak. And I'm wondering, like, because he's like, oh, I'm gonna like, is the market changing because I'm seeing price drops? I get that kind of mentality. But in my mind, and you can maybe correct me, Zach, this might be like a function of listing agents trying to buy listings sometimes in our market, where they're making promises for homes that are like when you walk into a house, just so everybody understands across the country, like when you go to list your house, you're probably going to talk to a couple people like, hey, you know, what does it look like? Right. And then when you have one agent come in and says, you know, everybody else says your house is worth 195, 200, 205, and you got someone come in and go, I can get you 240. Right. That's a function, I believe, in pricing the house improperly. Do you see that happening right now? Or like, what are you seeing as far as prices in the market?
Well, another stat that because I went over these with Mark the other day, and the one thing that I thought was odd is he told me the average days on market was still, I think, 35 days, which is odd when
seems odd
as a whole, because all you hear about are the bidding wars.
Yeah.
And over value, people waiving inspections, which I think is insane, depending on who you are. But
inspections are nuts. Why would you not have the house inspected, dude? It's wild.
Depending on who you are, it's like I had some guys that are, you know, home flippers or things like that we can walk into a house and they'll know, you know, what the gist of it is.
Yeah.
And even on those properties, the homes that are in the worst condition, still getting 6-7 offers.
That's wild. That's wild. So why do you think the days on market so high?
I don't know. I do think that you make a point is there are agents that buy listings when they go in to do a presentation, is they can get you more than anyone says. But I think that if your house is sitting on the market for 14 days in this market, I think that's like equivalent to a year, just because something's not right. You're not marketing it right. You're not priced right, which usually is the case, or your condition is not matching what your price is reflecting. Your house could be that much if it was in this condition.
Sal, is that what you're seeing on your side? So Sal does obviously a lot of purchase business. And are you seeing houses being priced incorrectly? Are we seeing low appraisals? What are you seeing on your side? Someone's going to buy a house. I haven't heard too many low appraisals personally, which is kind of odd because in a market that's increasing in value the way it is, usually appraisals kind of lag behind that. You know, you're setting records in every neighborhood a lot of times, right? Sal, are you seeing a lot of low appraisals right now? I'm just curious about that. Oh, Sal, cannot hear you, Sal, bud. We cannot hear you. Can we fix that?
Yeah.
There we go.
Often, no, I don't see them come in light. But when they do, it's either like a couple grand because, you know, they went over that much, or it's like a drastic difference, right? Like once in a while you see something like come in like 30 grand light, and that's just probably either a poor appraiser or, you know, which at that point, depending on the situation, you can get another appraisal or you know, do the loan elsewhere to really see. And I think if 2 appraisals come in low, then obviously that's on the agent, right? Pricing it too high or whatnot. And a lot of things right now, because I think it is like, you know, to everyone's point, it's a hot market, right? And once in a while you get an agent who just like doesn't really know what they're doing. They're pricing in like basement into the square footage when they're listing it, or like certain, but they're like including the garage and the living space. I'm like, this is not a 1,800 square foot home. It's really 1,100, you know?
But you can't live in the garage now?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could, but you know, no one's going to be.
My wife has been trying to get me in there the whole time. She's like, we'll just make a little pen for you in there.
Yeah. But no, I mean, not really. And, you know, a lot of people, I think at this moment too, are like, really able to get out of PMI and things like that on the refis, right? Just because we're getting a lot of appraisal waivers, even on purchases. You know, if you got a high credit score, 20% down, I'm getting often many appraisal waivers where we don't even need to do an appraisal. And I always say to the buyer, like, hey, you know, just because Fannie Mae says it's worth it, it still might not. So if you're comfortable paying that price, you could say $450, but you know, if you're not 100% confident, which again, I mean, you're a buyer, not necessarily an appraiser or an agent or someone who might be as savvy as one of those professions. I mean, it might be in your best interest to still do the appraisal or do one on the side or something like that, because it's not really about like closing the deal on our end, right? It's like when you see, like, to have an agent push someone to do no inspection is, like you said, Zach, wild. I mean, unless it's like a
investor,
handyman
like
or a flipper or whatever, right? I mean, yeah, if a builder's going into a home and like buying it for their kid or something like that, okay, I might understand that, but the average home buyer doesn't know.
First-time buyers, I've seen on our listings, first-time buyers waiving it.
Yeah,
it's
not smart.
No, not at all.
You feel there's a certain level of FOMO out there right now, like that people want to like jump in? I mean, we were just talking about before the show started, like rates are low, right? The price of money is cheap, and everybody in a house. And you've got people I've got friends that had a friend of mine was looking for a house, and he had gotten to the point where he was just like, I need a house. Why do you need a house? You have a house right now, right? He's like, everybody's buying a house. I feel like I need to buy a house right now. And I'm like, cool, but do it for the right reasons. But you feel like there's a lot of people like making decisions based on like the lack of like, you know, like when the Tickle Me Elmo was out, everybody wanted to fucking Tickle Me Elmo because nobody could get their hands on it, and there's FOMO, and all of a sudden there's people killing people Tickle Me Elmos, right? Is there a certain sense of herd mentality that are rushing out there and making bad decisions based on FOMO?
I think so. I'll give you a good example too. We listed one last Friday in Redford for $139,900, and we thought the price should have been like $135. So we told our client, hey, we're super close. We'll try, but at the end of the day, we got an appraisal. We can sell your house for $1 million. It's going to appraise for this much.
Right.
So we ended up getting 21 offers on this house over the weekend, and that was only Saturday and Sunday showings. Just absolutely ridiculous. There are still some offers which were contingent on home selling, which doesn't typically work in that scenario. FHA. We did see buyers waive their appraisals, which I'm assuming they're first-time buyers, or someone could have been looking at it for a rental property, except I just don't see investors buying top of the market price for rental. So I'm assuming it was a first-time buyer. And then the other one that we had, which had no appraisal guarantee, was like $160,000, just $160,000 straight up in appraisal, inspection, all that good stuff, which we know is not going to happen. No, but that's that person that needs a house. They'll do whatever the hell they can to get a house, and I don't think they were really pushed the right way. I don't think that's going to get them a house.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the offer is; it's got to close, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like sellers are like, "It's 160, dude. Let's get it, right?" And they're like, "What do you mean we're not going to go after the 160?" It's like, dude, there's no appraisal guarantee, right? Because if it goes, it's not going to appraise actually. Yeah. And so what's going to happen? And then you, as a seller, you're not going to take a deal that's overpriced that you're not going to get appraisal for without having a guarantee that they're going to close or have the assets, right?
They would want to at first, but that's when you come in. It depends on who you hire as your listing agent. Is some of them will tell you to accept that offer, and then you fall through at the end. You should be educated, or have your agent educate you on how you're going to get to the closing line with the most amount of money, because there were offers that were $5,000 over with a $7,000 or $10,000 appraisal guarantee, which ended up being the one that was accepted. So yeah, we'll push it a little bit higher on the price. Hopefully it appraises for you, Mr. Seller. If not, you got that appraisal guarantee, and this buyer can do it. So it happens all the time right now, but
it happens. It's crazy. And Sal, you come across this all the time. It's like you get an appraisal in, and it's like, how could you possibly have listed this house high enough or this high? And how could you possibly take an offer that was never going to close? When we look at the comparables, it's not even close, right? And they're like, well, it's a split level, and they got a nice little basement. And no, dude, that's not how it works. And there's a lot of shitty agents out there, unfortunately. I mean, I don't want to like put people down, but everybody's an agent. Everybody's an agent, right? Everybody's got their license. And the problem is, in a market like this, it's nuanced. You need a professional that understands what they're doing to give you, because it's harder, Zach, to give someone what they need to hear as opposed to what they want to hear, right?
I think in a market like this, though, it's easier for the shitty agent to get by, right? Because they can tell a seller what they want to hear and then just rely on the renegotiation when it comes in low and still end up closing the deal majority of the time, right? Because they're already in, right? They want to get in.
Shitty way to do business, though.
It's a shitty way to do business, but I feel like we've been seeing a lot of that this year with the way the market's been, I feel like.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, we've seen this a lot. Go ahead.
What would be nice, and obviously this would be very hard to orchestrate and do, and I don't think it will ever happen, is if you could get, let's say you had like 2 appraisals up front, right? One paid for by the buyer, one paid for by the listing agent, and like, hey, there's no issues. Like Fannie Mae accepts these appraisals or these values or whatever it is, and that's what it is. If someone wants to pay over, they're willing to do so, and then essentially they're already upfront covering that appraisal guarantee, right? Because think how far people go down the line of buying a home, and there's a domino effect, and blah blah blah. You got to sell this home and that home, and both of them got appraisal guarantees, and then they all blow up, and the guy in the end doesn't end up selling his house or whatever, right? It's a weird problem that so much is dependent on the collateral appraising, right? You know what I mean? And there's so many different companies and different. I mean, it all comes down to like one person's opinion to a degree, which is kind of crazy.
Are you saying get an appraisal done when the house is listed before you get offers on it?
Yeah, before you list it.
Yeah.
Like if that was something that like, hey, we're like someone rolled out some type of pilot program where like we already know what it's going to appraise. You don't need an appraisal. It's all paid for.
Yeah.
Fannie Mae accepts this report. If you want to pay over, you can.
You could, but I guess you guys being in it, do you feel those appraisals always come back higher than a purchase appraisal? Like if you're doing a refi or an equity line or anything like that? I
No.
feel like, no.
The reason why is because on a purchase, the appraiser sees the agreement. They see the price, right? Sure. So an appraiser sees that the house is being sold for $200K, let's say, right? So they're kind of, they have a number in their head psychologically, whatever that means. They've got a number in their head, whatever that means, right? They're gonna like either try to drive towards that or be like, F you. On a refinance, they're going in blind. They're just appraising the house wherever they feel like they need it. To your point, though, if the house is worth $225, the appraiser, generally speaking, if the appraised value is $200, I mean the purchase price is $200, they just hit $200. They're like, you got it, right? Yeah, they don't go over. They're not gonna put. Why would they put themselves out there to go over? Now,
but
on the other hand,
this is why, because we had
it's also a whole game, right? Like, let's say for some reason there's an addendum for 5K concessions or a separate addendum for the appraisal waiver, and somehow that appraiser doesn't see it. They might appraise it on the head, but if they see it, they might say, well, there's my out. Buyer's going to pay it. Here's, it's going to come in 5K light, and they guaranteed it, and the deal still happens. And, so I mean, again, like you'd have to think, and I think as much as appraisers try not to, right? I mean, they're just trying to do their job, and I don't think there's any like ill will in it, but you'd have to think just psychologically when you see, wow, there's a 10K waiver on this, it's way high. Like this is going to be hard to hit. I mean, knowing that 10K waiver, I might just put it where I really think it is, which is 8K low or whatever it is, right? And I think that's a strategy or a game that sometimes people play, right? No, don't send it to the appraiser or whatever, you know what I mean? Or they do it all in separate addendums so they don't see it in the PA. And it's odd that we kind of have to do that to make sure that things appraise. A few $1,000s for a first-time buyer blows a deal up.
Oh yeah,
100%.
The problem with doing it the way you want to, the problem with doing it the way you want to, Sal, is it removes that third party factor to it, right? Because you're gonna get these listing agents that get real buddy with appraisers. They get the same appraiser. They're gonna order the same appraiser every time from the same guy on all their listings, and if they don't get the value that they want to list the home at, they're not going to use them anymore, and you're gonna get rid of that third party kind of.
I mean, it's not going to happen. Right?
It's a great idea in theory,
but somehow it's institutionalized. I mean, I think it's more complicated than probably the issues of deals fall apart sometimes because appraisals come in.
Right.
I bet you'd see a lot the listing if the agent had to pay for all their appraisals on every deal. You'd see some different pricing, right?
Nice.
If the listing agent had pony up that $500, you'd probably see some better price listing prices, right? That are in line, really.
Definitely.
Like, what if you had to do that, Zach? What if you had to pay for every appraisal? I mean, you do a good job as it is. I'm just saying you probably don't give a shit. You'd be like, fuck yeah, I'll do it to set yourself apart. But like, there's some people out there just buying listings, right?
Yeah, for sure. But there's also points like sometimes it's the other side is seller's crazy, man. We've had sellers that say, I'm not listing.
Very fair.
But you gotta, I'd be the agent. I mean, you got to pay for a lot of stuff to put a house on the market, so you can't take every listing. But some agents will. They'll go out there with their cell phone. They won't put anything into the marketing, make it even look better than sell it for more than it's worth. They won't even put in to make it look good. I think it doesn't work out half the time, and then those are the houses that sit on the market. And then the buyers that I run with, they're like, Zach, every house that we want to go see, it sells so fast. Why is this house sitting on the market for 45 days? What's wrong with it?
Yeah, right away. If it's a stale listing, they're like, what's going on with it, right?
Listing, it happens too. It doesn't even matter the area. One thing I wanted to say, because Sal mentioned it, like the contingency offers, like, because I don't know, it's not impossible to find a house right now, and people think that it's so. I don't want to put it out there that it's so hard to find a house, because it's really not that hard. There are homes to choose from, and even a couple. I have, I think, 3 offers right now that were accepted that were also contingent on selling. So helping our sellers purchase has not been impossible. The one thing that we've been able to do through the market, though, if you're selling and buying, is 60 days occupancy. People are giving it out like candy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Everybody wants that time right now.
Right?
Yeah, everybody wants the time.
It gives you 90 days to find and close on a home. 30 days to close on a loan most of the time, and then 60 more days to look. It's definitely not impossible to find the right house, but there are competitions on some of them.
Yeah. Just so everybody understands, it's listing. Oh, go ahead, Sal.
I'll go back. Saying, like, I think as a buyer, like, you have to be, like, if you're serious, you got to be willing to put yourself out there too in that aspect. Like, if you can't buy without selling, make a decision. You know, you're either going to do it or you aren't, because, you know, you're out, you're looking at homes, and they're like, I don't know, I don't want to do it until my house is sold and closed. Well, but people want the world, but they don't want to do it, right? They don't want to take the steps to do it. And I think but to Zach's point, it's happening, and it's happening a lot, because the other people on the other side are in the same position.
Yeah, you're right about that, Sal. But one thing that, just so the audience understands, we're talking about contingencies. If you're not aware, so when you go to buy a house, a lot of times you're going to put your offer into the seller, and you're going to say, this offer is contingent on me selling my home. Well, in a really competitive market like this, right, it makes it harder, because if it's contingent on them selling and closing on their home that they live in now, anything can happen. You can have a bad buyer, it can fall through. There's a lot of things that could happen. So as a seller, you're not going to really, if you have 2 offers that are identical, you're going to take the one without the contingency every time, just because there's less red tape, right? So just so everybody understands that. So do you hear a lot of talk about rates? Because I don't feel like people buy homes because of mortgage rates, but I'm curious to hear on your side of it. Are people like, oh, rates are low, I want to buy a house? Or are the reasons well above that, and that isn't really the driving force in your opinion?
Depends on the person, I guess, but rates right now I heard today, you guys tell me, please, that they were lowered again, which I don't necessarily know what that means. Because I know every time I say it, I'm going to get a text from a couple lenders saying, bro, you're wrong.
Don't say it.
Bro,
don't say it, Zach. Don't say it.
So
the problem is, the problem is that they changed so quickly. They changed so fast, right? So yesterday there was a meeting, right? There was a press briefing that basically came out and said there wasn't going to be any stimulus until after the election, right? And the market's tanked.
I thought that was a tweet.
What's that?
That was a tweet, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something.
It was a tweet.
The word got out
heard around the world, right?
But the market's tanked, right? So rates came down a little bit.
It went down like 700 points, the Dow, and now it's up $420 today.
Right, because
it was
24 hours later. Well, 24 hours later, that got reversed, right? Now all of a sudden there's going to be talks about a stimulus plan, right? Very specific stimulus for COVID. So now the markets are coming back up. So it's so hard to say, yeah, rates went down, rates went up. It just, rates are rates. It depends on when you want to lock in.
Good news for rates.
Yeah.
You know, overall they're low because 2020 has been so fucked up. So, I mean, that's something that I think we'll all benefit from to a degree, but at the same time, like, I think that the markets are becoming a little like they got some Teflon when it comes to the typical like news that has really shifted them back and forth. Now it's like whatever. The sky's blue, the sky's yellow,
Yeah.
the sky's green, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like at the end of it all, like there's so many like factors right now between the election, Trump having COVID, the stimulus. I mean, everything is so crazy when it comes down to the markets. I mean, they're fluctuating and hovering near the top. I think like they're going to have to remain low because I think that there's like, to a degree, some type of like waterfall coming for the markets. But that's just my thought, you know.
Just so the audience understands, like, so money goes, like when there's fear, uncertainty, money goes into bonds and mortgage-backed securities because they're safe, right? It's a good place. It's a good store of value. You might not get a big return, but you're not going to lose a lot. You just leave it there and it's safe. So you'll see institutional money and money go into these bonds, whatever. Now, yesterday, Sal, I read somewhere, which is really interesting, that what happened yesterday was an algorithmic trigger that like these, because a lot of trading happens algorithmically. And so it's all computerized, right? So when they start seeing like certain factors happen, you'll just see these algorithms go sell, 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 and you'll see a drop. This has happened a few times where they turn the circuit breaker on and stop trading because algorithms just go nuts. That's what I heard. But regardless, the market did tank and then rates did go down because money went into bonds and mortgage-backed securities, bringing rates lower, right? I know it sounds backwards. So rates are going to be low for a while because I don't see our like the world being okay for a little bit, right? It's going to be kind of choppy. We don't know really what's going on. So they're going to be low for a little bit, but they're going to jump up and down. But no matter what, people are getting good. You're not going to like, what's that?
Wouldn't you say, like, I guess all year they've been low in standards of few past years?
All time,
they've been low for the last 5 years, dude.
Yeah. They are,
you know what I mean?
They are at
rates are stupid low.
All-time lows.
So I'll do
all-time low.
I refinanced back in April, I think, and I thought this is the lowest rate I'll ever get in my life, right? Coming 6 months later, I can drop my rate another 0.75%. It's insane.
That's wild. But like, okay, say the market goes down like some people think it does. If the market goes down by 25% and your interest rates go up, what, 2%? Aren't you still paying about?
No, when the market
goes down, rates go down.
So do rates.
So rates could, but the thing is, I guess on that end, inventory's been so low, I just don't see it. Inventory coming back.
So let's talk about that, Zach.
Right.
I mean, inventory is low, right? What talk to me about the inventory numbers that you're seeing.
No, it's 7% lower than it was the year before at this time. Amount of homes for sale. Days on market a bit longer, prices are 7% higher.
How's that affecting where you were this point last year compared to this point this year? Are you seeing, because inventory is lower, are you seeing kind of a choke of your business, or is it not really affecting it that much because you're just gaining market share?
I think that's a big part of it. I haven't noticed it too much in my business. I still think a chunk of mine is a lot of first-time home buyers, a ton of first-time home buyers. I think there's still people that are always going to need to move, no matter what market we're in. Someone's moving out.
No matter what market,
Someone's leaving college. Someone got married. There's always a reason for people to buy and sell homes, but I think I just haven't slowed down, if that's what you're asking. And
I think to Zach, to your point, I mean, the population of people that want to buy is still very, very high. Like there's a very big appetite. What's that?
And it's still a good time.
I think that you have to define, right? Like you have to define what does it mean when you say the market's hot? Who's it hot for, right? Like, is it hot for a seller? Is it because homes are flying off the market? Does that define a healthy, hot market? Right? I mean, obviously, like, if you thrive in it, it's great, right? You list a home, it flies off the market, it closes quick, there's lots of pressure, things keep moving, right? But I think, like, there's obviously, it's almost like the national debt, like, looming over our head, right? Like, where is the inventory going to come from? What's going to happen, right? Like, do you have any foresight into a solution to that, you think, on your end? As far as
where the values will go? I mean,
not the values, but the inventory. Like, do you see how do you think a break in that is even possible? I mean,
that's a question I've been asking myself. I'm like, we're not going to get one day where 50,000 homes go on the market.
the only possible explanation or like reality I could see is if COVID wiped out like 50% of the population, right? And now all of a sudden there's all these homes for sale, right? Because in reality, it's either that or cheap housing being built by these builders on like fringe areas, which I don't think people necessarily want to do at the moment, right? I mean, maybe things migrate over time over there, but there's just way more buyers than sellers. So I don't see that seesaw or whatever coming back the other way feasibly just because of a population problem over. Yeah,
it's going to get worse because your inventory is still going to be low going forward, and your prices they're still going up.
Still hold price as well, right?
Yeah,
still hold prices. But again, is that pushing us towards a potential cliff of like a bubble, right? But I guess there's no real solution to that problem per se, right? Maybe way down the road. What'd you say?
Yeah.
They've been saying that since I started real estate 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But
I think it's
to Sal's point though, it has been getting worse over the last 5 years. Inventory's gotten lower and lower and lower over the last 5 years. Inventory's never really come back. I think one way to kind of solve this, it's a long-term kind of plan, but we got to find a way to incentivize builders to be able to lower their costs and pay less taxes and be able to build more homes for people to buy to get more inventory out there. Because right now builders
I mean, not to get dark, but people die, right? And there's a ton of baby boomers that are getting into that era. I think that's probably when you'll see the markets flatten out next 5-10 years.
I also think
going to homes are dying.
We have the largest population since the baby boomers called the millennials that are now starting to have babies and buying their houses and moving potentially into their second houses. Stop doing that, Zach. So I like, this is a big population of people, and our lifespans are not getting shorter. Like back in the day, people would live to 70 or 75 or 8. It was like, gee, they lived a really great life. Now you're seeing 90, 95, 100, right? So you're having people live in homes longer and being more able to live in homes longer. You're having a big population of people with the millennials getting into the housing market. And there is going to be this problem for some time until, Sally, like you said, until like COVID wipes everybody out. Good call.
Well, I think to your point, Paul, I think that is a major factor of the shortage because millennials kind of sat and didn't buy homes, right? They moved back home after college. They didn't buy homes, they rented. Yeah. And now over the last couple of years, millennials have been trying to buy homes, and that's a massive population of people that are trying to buy homes, right? Because they're settling down, they're finding jobs, they're having babies. And that bigger people not buying homes for a long time and now all of a sudden wanted to I think is shortening the inventory as well.
Yeah, and Zach, you know what I find interesting, Zach? Although we've had a lot of unemployment, big numbers of like the largest employment losses of all time, right? Or like a long time, big numbers, and it didn't affect the housing market. Now, my theory is the people that lost their jobs, unfortunately, were servers, and those people weren't really the home buyers in the first place, right? They weren't the ones going out buying houses. Those are more renters than anything, right? Rental market's taking a big hit because a lot of those people can't pay their rent. But at the same time, I think the population of people that were buying houses wasn't the people that really lost their jobs, as callous as that sounds, right? Are you seeing that like most people that are buying houses through you, that they're not really the servers or the waiters or the bartenders? It's more the young professionals.
Yeah, I would say that. A lot of them are young. I mean, I don't know how, but I just keep getting these young engineering guys, man. A lot of guys that I think if anyone I've sold a house to this year, they've worked through COVID. If that says anything about the buyers. I mean, they had jobs where they could work from home. Most of them did. A lot of guys at Ford, things like that. My parents are at Ford, work with a lot of people there. One of my buddies was there. He's working from home now. Not everyone's on the line, right? But I don't know as far as them losing jobs. I haven't worked with many servers. I have a rental property right now that actually she was going to be hired as a nurse at U of M. Then COVID hit, and she was working at Buffalo Wild Wings. Her and the other person that lived there, and they were worried about paying rent, and that sucks. That was scary, but luckily they actually they ended up hiring her as a nurse, so that helped. But she's actually going to be looking to purchase now that she went from that waitress job to the a more steady career, I guess I could call it. I don't know.
hopefully she uses you to kind of par the loss there a little bit.
Working on that.
You're working on that, right? Good.
We're lucky. They paid rent, but I did hear some horror stories from people I know that own a lot more doors than I am, that I do. But they, had tenants that were late, or they wanted to put them on payment plans, or could I pay, once every 2 weeks? There was a lot of stuff that was going on for the people that were home or that do rental properties. That was scary for a little bit.
Yeah. So let's switch gears. So we were talking before, like we got on air, which is really interesting. So you're obviously part of EXP. Mark is an EXP guy, moved over from where he was before. And what we were talking about is, the EXP stock is blowing up. So EXP is a publicly traded company. Everybody that's in the EXP, you guys have like stock options or some kind of stock deal where you guys gain stock with the company. But that stock has absolutely exploded, right? Like you said, it went up at like $10 in like the last however days.
5 days.
Where's it at right now?
Right now we're at 54.38. We got the last 5 days it went from $40 to $55. But the biggest thing is since March, since COVID happened, where every real estate office is shut down. You can't go into their office. You can't do closings. All the employees are sent to work from home now. Well, EXP has been operating that way for 12, 15 years, I think it is.
They're all cloud-based, totally cloud-based. Yeah.
We didn't really skip a beat in that sense, but other than like not showing homes, but the stock since March has went from about $12 to $55.
So think about that. So as like investors are smart, right? So if you want to at least look at it as like a litmus for the market, investors are like, the market's good. I'm going to put my money here because it's stable, it's safe, and you've seen that kind of grow, which is really interesting, right? Because it was as low as it was low. I mean, it wasn't always this high.
Oh,
right?
We were for 3 years before it went over like $10. So,
well, I think that investors see the writing on the wall, right? Like potentially, like, hey, a pandemic hit and like people weren't really going to the office and all that overhead that like a traditional brokerage has versus an EXP model, right?
We're not the only one. I mean, look at Carvana. You can look at, and I can go back and look at Ford too and compare to that. Those people, even my buddy, he's only going to go to the office like once or twice a month. They don't want you in the office.
Right.
I think a lot of companies are finding ways to, either trim down costs for them and have employees work from home. I think it's going to be throughout everything soon when they can.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's going to be companies that evolve during this time are going to be okay. And they don't have to evolve perfectly, but the ones that are driving towards evolution, they'll be fine. Unfortunately, Zach, our business is full of dinosaurs that that I've been doing this 30 years and I know what I'm talking about. And right? You can't tankerous shithead. But like, what's that?
I was just making a joke about Mark.
Okay.
He's still
Mark is not a dinosaur. Mark just looks like a dinosaur.
He can't even use a computer. He writes his offers in pen and pencil still.
He's actually writing actual offers.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I honestly believe this. Like, there's going to be a changing of the guard in a lot of industries because restaurants that can adapt to the new normal, shopping centers, like let's say at a shop, right? If you don't figure out how to get your shop online and doing some e-commerce in your local area, you're probably going to be gone, right? Because people aren't going to be able to walk in. Restaurants, what's going to happen in the wintertime where you can't just sit outside anymore, right? Like, you better get a tent or some igloos and put people in there and make them nice and warm, right? You got to find ways to stay ahead of it. And I think EXP is, to your point, kind of set up to be the brokerage of the future, being that they are have been doing all these things, kind of preparing themselves for a different market in the future where, to be fair, like I love Keller, but they're kind of like a closed-end system. They're like the Apple of real estate. Like, you got to be in their system or else it's not going to work, right? Whereas EXP is like much more independent.
Absolutely, definitely is. Being independent doesn't mean that if you come to EXP, you don't have support, or if you're a new agent, because there's millions of training offered. They have 7 different training classes going on at one time, and it's all online. You can do it from anywhere. So at your convenience, you can go in and pick that. And then also, it's just as far as the stock options go, you get it at multiple times. You get it when you join. You get it if you recruit an agent. You get it. You can opt in to have it come out of every closing, similar to like a 401k, right? So also the only place that you actually can get a retirement plan, in my opinion, if you're not investing in real estate, because as a realtor, what do we have? We're going to have to sell houses like the dinosaurs do until they're 90. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah. There's no exit strategy, dude. There's no exit strategy, right?
Right. And then I guess, other than that, it's just, I like it because my costs aren't where they were a few years ago. As far as paying the place to run their lights, to pay for their employees that we didn't work with, to use computers that we never used, things like that. We don't have to pay anymore, so helps me out.
Right. All right, man. We are at the moment in the show. We do 3 questions, Zach. You ready for that?
They're not the same questions as before, are they?
No. I don't remember what the last one was.
I mean, they might be.
We'll see. All right. If you could be one animated character, who would you be and why?
Let's do Otto from like Rocket Power back in the day.
Who?
I don't even know what that is.
Come on, guys.
That is Zach.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, he was like a skateboarder or something. He was just super cool. That was the first one that popped my head.
Hey, Natalia, can you bring up the picture of what Brad's character would be? Can you do that for us?
Man. You're such an asshole.
Can you do that for us?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
You planned that out way too far in advance.
Oh yeah.
That was
Look at that. Well, can you put them next to each other?
Ready?
Natalia, put him next to each other.
You knew that was coming, you asshole.
For those of you that are listening on the podcast, unfortunately, you can't see what's happening. Look at that.
Jeez, man.
Oh man. All right, get it out, Natalia. For those of you that don't know, look up the guy's name in Ice Age. That was.
I don't know.
His name is Sid. His name is
Sid from Ice Age. If you guys have ever seen Brad, but you've seen Sid from Ice Age, they look identical. So, Zach, if you were to do real estate in one other market, what would it be and why?
California. I've never been there.
You've never been to Cali?
No, which is kind of fucked up. I really want to go, but why not go out sell all the homes that the realtors sell on TV, man? I go out there and sell some houses. You look
like you grew up in Cali surfing or some shit. Dude. You're super like Caucasian and blonde.
I can probably surf. I can snowboard and do it. The rest, wakeboard, we'll be all right. Yeah. Surfing isn't.
Do you snowboard? Is that what you do?
Yeah.
What do you do for like as a sport?
As a sport, I used to play baseball my whole life. My college, high school, all that good stuff. Coached a little bit after, but it takes up too much time right now. I wish I could. I'll get into it later.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. If do you guys have a question for him or Brad, Sal, anything?
You're pretty good with the questions, Paul.
All right. If you could spend something different. If you were on a deserted island and you could only bring one item with you, what would it be and why? It can't be a boat to get off. That's like everyone's that.
No, that's not fun.
Yeah, no.
One item. I'll tell you my phone. Just want to keep in touch with everyone.
Well, how the shit is your phone going to work on a deserted island, bro? There's no cell phone tower on there.
You're right. Shit.
A satellite phone would work. Like you wouldn't be like a hatchet or like a knife or like a match.
Yeah, I mean, a satellite phone would be good until the battery dies. Then what?
What is that thing?
It's a little drone.
Is that your drone?
It's a mini drone.
It's nothing fancy, but it'll keep you entertained for a long time if you're on an island by yourself.
No, it won't,
bro.
Because what happens when the battery dies?
Jesus.
I mean, you're just really. I mean, you keep your batteries out of coconuts.
You keep you entertained for an hour, then you're screwed.
I'll bring my.
There you go, the bobblehead.
There you go.
Bring Kobe.
Hey, God bless his soul, man. You got a little piece of him right there. That's the Black Mamba right there. What I was gonna say is I saw something nuts about drones, right? Okay. So the Mercedes is coming out with a SUV and they have lights on the top of the SUV. Well, they're drones, and what they do is when you go into where you want to turn them on, they will disconnect from the car, go in front of you to light up the path. Let's say you're going off-roading, and they will follow the fucking car. And then if you get out of the car, they will follow you through the woods to make sure you have lighting.
What?
What year is that? Real. What's that?
So what year? Because I want it.
This is happening now, dude. Drones are all like drones are gonna be like everywhere, dude. We're gonna be getting like deliveries with drones. We're gonna be like, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. And Amazon's gonna own everything, by the way, because they're just figuring everything out better than everybody else. Zach, can you do me a favor? Tell the audience how they can find you, dude. I appreciate you doing the show. You always had a lot of knowledge. It was great. I wish you the best, but tell everybody how they can find you.
Best way to contact me is cell phone 734-752-1718, or find me on Facebook, Zack Jones.
Yeah. You know someone's about their business when they give out their cell phone. Like if you're not giving out your cell phone, you're probably one of those dinosaurs we talked about.
Call me, man. I'm here. I'm ready to go.
Zach, thanks so much, man. We really appreciate you doing the show. I know it goes by quick, but we'll have you on again, dude. You're always good to have on.
Appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks, peace out, dude.
Later.
So, great kid, dude. Really busts his ass over there with Mark and everybody. I mean, Mark is really kind of building like a really good team. His team is seeing success. I always think you could be like Mark could do all the advertising in the world and be on every billboard and every commercial and have his kids on every whatever. But like ultimately, you got to be able to create wealth. What are you doing? That's all you're making me dizzy.
I don't know. Fucking seizure.
I know, but
when I take them out, it switches the view.
Yeah, we got it. So basically, if you can create wealth for your people, like that's when you know you've got something, right? And he's been able to do that. Mark has people that are having success within his company. We've had 2 of them on our show this year, and they're doing well. And it is a testament to having a good process and a good company. Now, wouldn't you agree? Like you're not really any good if you are the business. If you want to have a business, you better be able to make other people wealthy, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's he was able to teach people the way he did it, right, and replicate that and build a system, right? So
yeah,
that's
Sal, you ever think about being a real estate agent? Like I think about it, like I want no part of it because I gotta go show. Like I could rather not do it, but like I mean, there's some allure to it to doing that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, to me, being on this side of things, it's always like a grass is greener, right? Like, man, I wish I didn't have to deal with pay stubs and W-2s and underwriting. I wish I could just show the house. But then you're really dealing with the client's emotions, right? Like the house. And I mean, it all seems easy, right? But it's not. I mean, just like people are like, man, I wish I could just sit at my desk and write loans all day. It's like,
right. Yeah, it's not that easy, bro.
You don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You know, same thing as go show 1 million houses, right? I mean, I think, it'd be great to be a listing agent, but I don't think people see the climb to the top, right? I don't think people understand it's the work. And I mean, shit, you got to show houses when everyone's out of work. Like your weekends are like your potentially, depending on, like during
should be the business days you have. Yeah.
So weekends.
I remember like as loan officers, I always would, Sal and I always would trumpet this. It's like, reach out to your agents on the weekends. They are working. Those are your partners. You got to make sure that
they're doing open houses. Maybe not right now, but like, I remember waking up and like having to do an open house with a realtor that I committed to, and just being like hungover or something like that, and like, man, this sucks. Like, I mean, they put in
3
the work.
People show up. You're eating cookies the whole time.
But I mean, they put in the work when everyone else is, off or resting or whatever, right? So I think there's an allure to it, but at the same time, it sounds taxing, driving around.
Everything's taxing, man.
Billion miles on your car.
Being successful at anything, no matter what it is, dude, you got to be like on it all the time.
I want to,
like,
if I could do anything else in this business, I go be an appraiser. I go back in time and do that.
That'd be pretty
cool. Really? Why?
Because you just can turn on and turn off. You turn on and
you don't have people. Yeah, I get it. You can take an order and not take an order.
Dude, you make $300 a pop. You go out, you do 4 a day. I mean, there's an endless supply of them right now. You know what I mean?
And you're gonna see some crazy shit too. You have some stories.
Yeah, I mean, you still get to go and you drive around. I mean, we got a buddy who set it up pretty good. He's got a whole system.
Kevin Keck. Yeah, we've had him on the show. Keck's one of our.
He's able to do a lot of appraisals. But
we should get him on the show. Actually, I'm going to reach out to him.
Yeah, we should. But people underestimate, I think, what goes into that too. I mean, I feel like that you have to be the most qualified to be an appraiser to a degree, as far as like schooling and things of that sort in our business. I mean, anyone can, nothing else in our business requires a degree or certification other than our license, which you can get in 2 weekends, right? So I think like appraising, you got to do it for years before you can actually be certified. So it's because again, to our point earlier, one person potentially controls that whole deal. I mean, it's the bank's like highest priority to make sure that collateral is sufficient to the loan, right? Because even if the person can't pay, they still have to make sure that value is there, right?
Totally. All right, so I would be an appraiser. Brad, you'd be, what is it, a lemur? What is Sid exactly? What is Sid?
I don't know.
Like a ferret? Is he a ferret?
I have no idea.
That was tough, bud. I'm sorry I did that to you. I just had to.
You had it planned.
If me and Brad could do anything, we could open a ramen shop.
Yes, ramen shop. I would open a ramen shop.
Sal, if I did anything with you, I'd open a watch shop.
Yeah.
A watch shop. Me and you would have a watch shop.
Yeah.
Sid's a sloth, by the way.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much for doing the show. Obviously, whoever's listening still, go to IREpodcast.com. Please do us a favor, like our podcast, hit that notification bell, and make sure you leave us a review, because those reviews, if you like our show, leave us a review. If you don't leave a review if you don't like our show. I don't want to hear it. But if you hear our show, please leave us a review, and that really helps us kind of share our message with a lot of people. But we're very fortunate that we have a great audience. We've had probably some of the best feedback over the last couple of weeks that we've had in a long time, of people actually like reaching out to us because of the show. So it's been nice. I didn't realize we had 2 fans. It's great. So guys, anything to say before you go? Sid, Sal?
I think we're good.
We're good.
All right, boys. We'll see you later.
All right.
Peace out.